Welcome to Jay's Techie Crown. If you're watching my channel for the first time, please subscribe. Come, let's get into the video. In this video, we are going to discuss about the most common Informatica Power Center questions that will be asked in any interview. I am sure that this video will help you to clear any interview on Informatica Power Center. The agenda of this video is to cover most of the common Informatica interview questions, which includes architecture, basic questions, transformations, scenarios, and other frequently asked questions. When you plan to appear for an interview, make sure that you are ready to face any questions on the architecture, because most of the interviewers will start with the architecture questions. When I talk about the architecture, the things that you need to consider preparing yourself are from the list of services that are involved in the Informatica architecture and how they are integrated and what services are responsible for what functions, or in simple terms, please explain what Informatica does when you execute or run a workflow. And you may ask about the DTM buffer. So be ready to explain any of the architecture scenarios. If you are with an experience of 3 years or between 5 years, then the chance of facing the architecture questions are very less. But if you are 5+ years of experience, then the chance of facing the architecture questions are more. So once you face the architecture questions, the second thing would be on the basic questions. Most of the interviewers will start with basic questions to understand your exposure, and then based on the job requirements and your experience, you may go to the next level. So the questions might start from the transformations initially, and then it may go to different scenarios. Come, let us see what are all the basic questions that will be asked by most of the interviewers. Here is an example of the most common and basic questions. What is the difference between a joiner and a lookup? A connector lookup versus unconnected lookup, a joiner versus union, and what is dynamic cache? So they might start asking these basic questions. Once they're comfortable with the answers, then they might move on to the next level, which is about the transformation. So they might discuss about different transformations involved in Informatica and how good are you at different transformations. Most of them try to ask or evaluate on the transformations, which includes a lookup, SQL, joiner, update strategy, union. So they used to ask more questions on these particular transformations. And once they're comfortable, then they move on to the advanced transformations, which include XML, Java, and then unstructured transformations or data masking transformations. They just try to check how good are you at the advanced transformations. Most of the interviewers try to evaluate on the XML transformations and try to see whether you have used the XML parser or generator in the past. Be prepared to explain your hands-on experience on performance tuning that you have implemented in your recent project, and if you have saved any millions of dollars in your current project by doing performance tuning, you can very well explain them. That will be an added advantage in an interview. But if you are 8+ years of experience, then it is always recommended to prepare more on these transformations. The chances of facing the questions on the advanced transformations are very minimal, and it is purely based on the job requirements and your years of experience. The final part of the interview process will be on other technologies and tools you worked on. So you might end up facing more questions on SQL, mostly on the joins or on the other explain plans and execution plans, and then on the Teradata or the scripts and commands in Unix or Linux if you worked on, and all the scheduling tools, which includes Control-M or Auto. And finally, you may be end up facing more scenario questions, which may be on Informatica transformations or on different file formats you have worked on, which include FAT files or CSV files or other keyword files, and then on the different SCD formats or logics you worked on, and how do you schedule certain jobs, and is there any dependencies that you worked on. So you may be end up facing different scenario questions based on the job requirements. So be prepared for those questions. So most of the questions will be asked from these points which we have discussed. So be prepared with the topics which we have discussed here. Please follow this video and then subscribe. I will be posting the answer for all the questions which I have discussed over here in my next video. Thanks for watching. I believe this video will help you to clear the interview.